Welcome to Understand the Math. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to convert a quadratic equation from standard form to vertex form. We'll start by going over the two forms so that you can see exactly how this conversion is done. I want to begin by showing you the difference between standard and vertex form. A quadratic equation written in standard form looks like this. It's written as y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c are all real numbers, and a is not equal to 0. The graph of a quadratic equation is a parabola, and you can find the vertex of the parabola from this formula. Standard form is useful when you solve equations, when you simplify expressions, perform algebraic operations, and then often when you model real-world situations. Let's now look at vertex form. A quadratic equation written in vertex form looks like this. Y is equal to a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k, and the vertex is just equal to h comma k. Vertex form is useful when you graph a quadratic and also when you need to easily identify the vertex. Let's now look at some examples. We're going to walk through some examples where we convert quadratic equations from standard to vertex form. This is our quadratic equation in standard form, and we're going to convert it to vertex form. There are two methods that we can use to do this, and I'm going to use both methods just so that you can see how each one works. In the first method, we're just going to use the formula for the vertex given by this. And then in the second method, we're not going to use the formula, and instead we're going to do what's called complete the square. I'll show you exactly how that works. Our first example is y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 5. This equation is written in standard form, and we're going to convert it to vertex form. Let's start with the first method. I have outlined 3 steps that we can follow just to make things easier. Our first step is to find h from our formula. The reason that we want to do that is that our vertex is equal to h comma k. So we're finding the first component of our vertex. Let's go ahead and let's do that. We'll write down the formula. H is minus b over 2a. Now let's go up to our equation. I'm going to write down the standard form. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So we can look at these two forms and we can see what a and b are. Our formula is h is equal to minus b, so it's minus. B is the constant that multiplies our x term, and that's a 6. So we have a minus 6 on top, and then 2 times a, and a is the constant times x squared, which in this case is equal to 1. So it's 2 times 1, and we have minus 6 over 2, which gives us minus 3. So our h is minus 3. Now let's find our k. I've outlined this in our second step. We're going to find k by substituting h back into our equation for x. Let me go ahead and let's highlight this. Here's our h, and we're going to plug it back in wherever we have an x. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Our k is going to be minus 3 quantity squared plus 6 times minus 3 plus 5. Let's now multiply that out. We have a 9 minus 18 plus 5. That's equal to 14 minus 18, which is minus 4. Let's go ahead and highlight that. So that's our k. And then all we have to do in our third step is to just take the h and k and put it into our vertex form for our equation. Our third step then is y is equal to a, which is 1 in this case. We have an x minus h. Our h is a negative 3, so we got to be careful. We have a minus 3. That gets squared, and then we add k, which is minus 4. So this gives us y is equal to x plus 3 squared minus 4. Let me go ahead and highlight that because that is our equation written in vertex form. Vertex form is just really nice because you can look at that equation and you can right away see that h is 3 and k is minus 4, and you know exactly where your vertex is. Let's now convert to vertex form using our second method. This method involves completing the square. We're going to go through this step by step. Our first step is to group the x terms and factor out the constant multiplying x squared. Let me go ahead before we begin here and let's write down our equation since it's off the page at the top. Our equation is y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now let's see if we can make sense of this first step. We're going to group the x terms and we're going to factor out the constant multiplying x squared. Let's do that. We have y is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 5. And we're going to group the first two terms, x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now it says to factor out the constant multiplying x squared, but in this problem we only have a 1 in front of x squared, so we actually didn't have to do that part. In our next example, we'll have to do that. Let's now look at step 2. Step 2 says that we're going to complete the square. I know whenever I teach calculus, I always have to review this with students. It's just a little bit tricky. So what I've done over here on the right in green is I've written down the formula. Let me go over this with you. To complete the square, you have something on the left that looks like x squared plus a constant times x. I call that constant d. What you're going to do is you're going to look at that d and you're going to divide it by 2 and square it. And you're going to add that to your x squared plus dx. And then because you can't change an expression, you can only add 0 to it. We then have to subtract d divided by 2 quantity squared. This is essentially just adding 0. So we're not changing anything. I think the formula is a little bit complicated. You don't need to memorize it. If you do enough of these problems, you'll learn exactly what to do. Let's go ahead and let's apply that. For our step 2, I'm going to write down y is equal to, now we're going to complete the square and we're going to look at what's inside our parentheses here. We're going to have x squared plus 6x. Our 6 is our d. So we're going to take the 6 and we're going to divide it by 2. So we're going to add 6 divided by 2 and we're going to square that. And then we can't change the problem, so we also have to take that away. So it's essentially adding 0. We'll close our parenthesis and then our 5 comes along for the ride. Now let's do some simplification. This is x squared plus 6x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so we're going to add 9 and then subtract 9. And then there's our 5 coming along for the ride. Now what we're going to do is we are going to group these together. So let's write this as x squared plus 6x plus 9 and then minus 9 plus 5. Now we can go ahead and go on to our third step. Our third step tells us that we have to now factor our trinomial. This is our trinomial right here. It's called a trinomial because it has 3 terms in it. Let's write down y is equal to, now we have to factor this. I have a video on factoring trinomials if you need to review that. This trinomial factors into x plus 3 quantity squared. And then minus 9 plus 5 is just minus 4. And that is our final answer. Notice that this answer is the same exact answer that we got when we used method number 1. Let's do another example so that you can really get the hang of this. In our second example, we are going to convert our quadratic equation from this standard form to vertex form. Let's start with our first method. That's the one where we're going to use the formula. Our first step is to find h. That's the x value of our vertex. Our h is minus b over 2a. b is equal to 6. That's the term in front of the x, and a is going to be equal to 3. So we have minus 6 all divided by 2 times a, which is 3. So that's minus 6 over 6, so that's just minus 1. Our second step is to find k. So k is our value y when we plug in minus 1 for x. This gives us 3 times minus 1 squared plus 6 times minus 1 plus 2. Now let's simplify this. This is just 3 minus 6 plus 2, which is 5 minus 6, which is a minus 1. Let's now go on to our third step. Our third step is to rewrite the equation, and I've written down the formula here that we're going to use. There's our formula right there. We get y is equal to a, which is 3, times x minus h. Our h is a negative 1, so we have x minus a negative 1, quantity squared, plus k, and our k is a minus 1. If we simplify this, this gives us y is equal to 3, and then we have x plus 1 on the inside. We square that, and then we subtract 1. And that is our equation written in vertex form. I think the hardest part of the first method is you have to know the formulas. Let's go ahead and let's do this problem again using our second method. I'm going to rewrite the problem here. Our problem is y is equal to 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. Here we go. Our first step is that we're going to group the x terms together and factor out the constant term that multiplies x squared. This gives us y is equal to 3x squared plus 6x, grouping the x terms together, plus 2. And then now we can factor out the constant multiplying x squared. So this is 3x squared plus 2x plus 2. Now we're ready for our second step, which is completing the square. When we complete the square, what we're going to do is we're going to look inside the parentheses, and we're going to take our term that multiplies our x, we're going to divide it by 2 and square it, and then we're going to add it and subtract it. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 2 divided by 2 squared minus 2 divided by 2 squared. Remember, we're just adding 0 this way. Close the parenthesis, and then plus 2. Now let's go ahead and let's simplify. This is 3 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus 1 plus 2. Now we're going to regroup. I'm going to pull all these together. So we have a 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. And then we have a 3 times a negative 1. Let me highlight that so you can see what I'm talking about. We have a 3 times a negative 1. And that gives us a minus 3 plus 2. And this then becomes 3 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus 1. And then we can do our third step, which is to just factor our trinomial. This gives us y is equal to 3. Here's our trinomial, and it factors into x plus 1 quantity squared minus 1. And that is our final answer. We'll pull this down a little bit so that you can see that it agrees with the answer that we got in method number 1. Honestly, I think both of these methods are difficult. The first method is hard because you have to know the formula. And then the second method is hard because completing the square just takes a lot of algebraic steps. I hope that you now understand how to solve these problems. What I would suggest is that you go through, maybe rework these problems, and then do some additional problems so that you can get some practice in doing these problems. If this video has been helpful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Keep believing in yourself and have a great rest of your day.